Hey there, it's Jen, and I am here today to share a layout using the Ali Edwards Stories by the Month kit for August 2018. Now, this is actually not the physical kit because I got it in the mail and promptly lost it. I don't know where it is. I've been looking for it forever. I'm sure it's around somewhere, or I accidentally threw it away, which makes me very, very sad. But luckily, last year's digital kit is this year's physical kit. So I am using the digital kit, which is still available in the shop if you would like to buy this digitally. And I've just printed off some of the journaling cards, and I printed off the chipboard shapes. I sized them to the same size that they would be regularly, and then I glued it to a piece of chipboard. So I'm gonna make my own chipboard shapes, which I've done before, and this was my plan with this kit anyway, and so I'm just gonna carry on like I have the physical kit, but I do not have the stamps, so I have a few different stamp sets that I'm pulled that I might use on this layout. And basically what I'm doing is I'm doing an overview of August last year, and I am going to, this is something I've been wanting to try for a while. I think it was Brandy Kincaid, who's also on the design team, did this, where she used the leftover bits of the chipboard circles that we sometimes get in the story kits and put photos behind them and stuff. And so that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to make a grid style layout, and I've printed my photos so that they'll fit within these circles, as well as my journaling, which I just created a circle in Photoshop, and I stuck my text in the circle, and then I deleted the circle afterwards so that you don't see it when I put it within these circles, so you can see how it kind of fits in there. So it's kind of small text, but I'm okay with that. And my printer was being weird, but I'm not going to reprint this either. I'm just going to be fine with this, and I'll put you on fast forward and talk you through my process.
So first things first, I am cutting up my photos, and I'm not doing like a really good job at getting these exactly cut apart, and I don't really care because they're going to go behind the circles. So I'm just using my scissors after I've gotten them trimmed into strips and cutting those up, and I'm just going to play around a bit with the circles and how I can put these inside. Now, my text I did a little bit too close together. I wish I would have spread it apart a little bit, but it ends up working fine. So my original thought was, let's match the photo with the kind of color of circle that's around the opening there. And so I thought I'll put the one with the green in it behind this little green square, and some with blue behind this square. And then I decided that instead of doing that, what I wanted to do was do it by, I wanted to see if it looked okay if I just did it by date. Because what I did for the journaling is I just put a number and then a caption, and each of the numbers is the date. So next to the number 11, it has something that happened on the 11th, and then there's a corresponding photo. My plan is to also stamp a number by each photo. So that's kind of the plan here. Now I've decided that they look just fine when I put them in order, rather than trying to get them. Sometimes there's photos that pull your eye more than others, and so at first I thought, I don't care if they're in order, because I'm going to put the numbers on them, and I'll just put them in a way that looks visually good to me. But it ended up working out fine to just put them in order. So that's what I plan to do. And so they go from you read like a book. So the top left, and then the right, and then the bottom left, and then the right. So, and again, the numbers are there so that if anyone were to get confused, they can match them up. But this is something I like to do with 4x6 cards quite a lot, is to make them into a column, or somehow put them on my, to make them into an element on my layout. So because I'm not doing as much pocket scrapbooking anymore, this is a way that I really like to include them on regular layouts. I pulled out my little mat here. This is from Close to My Heart, just so I could make sure I get that centered, because I want it to be right in the middle. And there's numbers all around this little square that help me line things up. And what I decided to do here, now you can see I switched to white cardstock. I just thought it was a better look. But I definitely think you could do this on a pattern paper or a plain colored cardstock as well. I decide to staple these all together. I just really like the way that it ties them together, because visually, I mean, at first it's one big chunk of text and photos, but you can see the lines where everything like where they're all separate pieces. And so I just wanted to bring them together in that way. So as I mentioned before, I kind of was making my own chipboard. So I had my printed chipboard pieces, and I had glued them on chipboard. And so you can see me just cutting those out sometimes. I sped this part up quite a lot because I was mostly fussing around with the photos, but it'll slow down here again in a few minutes. But I'm basically just trying to figure out where I want to put embellishment, because I've got all of that stuff going on in the middle. I thought something in the center of those to bring them all together even more than the staples did would be a good idea. And I like the idea of doing that star. I also like the idea of stamping something in the empty space on each one of those little journaling circles. And so I pulled out my Everyday Words stamp set from Allie and a couple of her inks, and I'm just going to kind of match the color of the circle around the text. And I just stamped ugh, yes, this, currently, today, I don't remember exactly, but you'll see in the close-up photos at the end. And some of the inks I stamped off first and then stamped it down because I wanted it to be a little bit lighter so it matched the color on the circle better, if that makes sense. So sorry about my crazy hair just popping in and out there. I really like the idea of adding some blue. That blue photo on the bottom really pulls your eye, the aqua in it, and so I wanted to add some more of that. So I cut out a chipboard piece and I end up putting it at the side, kind of like a tab. And then I cut up another journaling card and I put it above August stories, and I think it says the story I'm telling myself is this or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it says now. And then I'm going to stamp above it and heat emboss that. So I'm basically, I'm using those everyday stamps again, and then I don't know what I did. I don't think I used, my ink wasn't, my embossing powder wasn't sticking to my ink. So I just decided to stamp over it with some Versamark, and then I'm going to emboss this with white embossing powder from, I think it's Wow. I'll link to available products in the video description. I was struggling a little bit, so I put my powder tool down to get rid of all the stick, and then I started over because I just wasn't getting a clean looking stamped image. But I will heat set this, and then I'm going to go in with a white pen and just kind of fill in any spots that I felt like needed it. So that says Documenting Life, and so I'm just grabbing a pen and kind of filling in. There's just a couple little spaces where it didn't quite reach because it's such a detailed stamp. And so I just added I filled it in with the marker, which is a good, it's a good little trick to use. So here I am just putting foam adhesive on the back of my group of photos. This is going to hold them all together, and I like that it's going to lift them up a little bit. It gives them more importance, even though they're already on chipboard. I just thought it would be nice to have just a little bit of a raised effect. This adhesive, or the foam that I'm using, is just inexpensive craft foam that you can get at any craft supply store or even at Walmart, and it's not super thick, which I really like. And then I just put some double-sided tape from Thermoweb on the back for adhesive. So one side of it is already adhesive, and I put that side down first, and then you have to add adhesive to the other side. So that's what I'm doing here. And then I'm just going to center it and have the August Stories card be centered above and below it. And I really like that. So I find that something that works well to make my chipboard pieces, my homemade chipboard pieces, look more real is to curve the edges down so it looks like they were cut with a die almost. The way that the paper kind of curls down and around the edge of the die cut. And so I just kind of press it down a little bit, and it gives it a little bit of a more finished look. So here I have decided to cut little banner ends into my little word strip here that's going in between the August Stories and the Documenting Life. I'm just going to stick that down. Again, that is just cut from another 3x4 card in the kit, and I'm going to staple the ends of that down just to bring in the staples to another location on the layout because they're already on the chipboard there. And now I'm looking through my chipboard to see if there's anything else I might want to add. I was thinking maybe I needed some more circles or some more stars. I couldn't quite figure it out. So I've got my pop of that aqua in the bottom photo, and then I have it now over on the left hand side with that chipboard piece that I made. And so I'm thinking I need one more like pop of aqua. I can't quite decide yet what I want to do, so I'm just stamping my numbers. And as I was doing that, I remembered I have this little place above where I work on my desk that has like random things that I stamped and cut out or die cut and didn't use, and that little field notes stamp was there from a project I created last month, and I thought that might be a really nice way to bring in that aqua color again, so it will end up living there. I'm stamping the date. This is the Week in the Life stamp set from last year, and it just has a bunch of numbers on it, and they're really small, which is what I wanted. So I'm just stamping in the space of the photo wherever it's most easy to see it, where it shows up the best. And some of the photos I had a hard time getting it to show up the way I wanted it to, and so I end up punching out 3 little white circles and putting them on 3 of the photos, and you'll see that here in just a minute as well. So just again, the numbers, I didn't number the photos from 1 to 12. That's how many photos there are. I numbered them based on the date in the month that they fell. And so, and they correspond with the journaling. So I put the numbers in bold in the journaling too, so that would be even more apparent, if that makes sense. So now I am just thinking this isn't quite working. Some of these don't stand out. So I went and got my punch and some white cardstock, and I'm going to see how that looks. I'm stamping the numbers on here now and just going to try it out and see if I like it. And I do end up really liking it. And so I decide to go ahead and do this for 3 of the different photos. I think the one with the butterfly, because that one's hard to see. The one with the 10 on it that I already did, and then the one of me and my daughter on the bottom, I'm going to do it on that one as well. There you go. So I like that there are 3 and they're not next to each other. They form a visual triangle, which I like to do whenever I can. So I've got my my aqua pieces forming a visual triangle, drawing your eye around the photos, and then I've also got those circles drawing your eye. Well, they're a more subtle detail, but they're in a triangle as well. And then what I'm going to do after this, I'm just cutting those down a little bit so I can kind of tuck them up underneath on some of them. What I'm going to do now is try to figure out what my final embellishments are going to be. So I'm thinking I do like that field notes, but I was second guessing myself for a second. I thought, is that too many circles? I didn't know if that was going to be working out correctly, but I decided to do it, and I popped it up on some foam so that it gave it a little bit more like it calls attention to it just a little bit more. I stamped the date right below the word stories, and that was to bring in a little bit more black, because the only place there's really black is the text and the stamping on the photos. And so I liked that repetition. And I'm just looking through, I have a whole box full of Ali Edwards stuff from past kits. And so I'm just looking through there to see if there was anything that I might want to add. And there were these little, they're almost like sequins, stars in there. My camera cut out because I think my battery died or something. Anyway, I just decided to add those stars dotted around the layout, and then I am adding some pen stitching. So it's faux stitching. I'm just adding white pen stitches because I was too lazy to get out my sewing machine. And that pretty much completes this layout.
So here's the final layout. I hope that you can see how you could do the same thing with the physical kit if you had it, just cutting up a few journaling cards and using some chipboard pieces to tuck under, and then maybe using some of the stamps. I can't remember what this month's stamp looks like, but if you have any that would work for any of these spaces, that would be awesome. And I hope that you enjoyed. I would love to see if you guys make stuff with your leftovers, like these chipboard pieces. I would love to see it. So be sure to leave a link in the video description, or drop me a line on Instagram, tag me, whatever. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you again very soon.